Now, we've just come out of the Inspire session where we were talking about the inspiration that's needed and looking for inspiration in adverse times and through adversity and through challenge. We're moving now into the Educate session. Our first speaker is Philip Butler, and I'd like to welcome Philip. Sorry, I've just lost my notes on Philip. But Philip is from Textor Technology. Philip has been involved with the textile industry for 25 years and has headed up Textor Technologies since 2000. He's taken a traditional textile business into a supplier which exports all around the world from a 10,000 square metre factory in Tullamarine. Philip currently sits on the Strategic Advisory Committee of CSIRO's Manufacturing Division and was previously chair of the Textile Clothing and Footwear Industries Innovation Council and a member of the Prime Minister's Manufacturing Task Force. Please welcome Philip Textor to the stage. Philip Butler to the stage. Another apology required.
Thanks a million for the chance to talk. And this is a great networking opportunity, and I saw two very cool dudes with Maiden on their shirts. Please come up and introduce yourself to me later on. I need some help. Textor Technologies. What is it? What do we do? Governments categorise companies, and we're in the textile, clothing and footwear category. We don't make textiles, we don't make clothing, and we definitely don't make footwear. But we're in that category because we use fibres. And why do we use fibres? Well, because fibres have massive surface areas for the mass, and there's enormous variety of fibres that we can do all sorts of really clever, creative things. I really want to address my talk to the people facing the closure of the automotive industry in Australia. So, and the reason why I want to address that is because as a company, we've gone through the closure of the garment industry in the late 90s. That's what we used to supply the interliners for the collars and cuffs. That represented 40% of our business. And we also sold into the automotive industry. We sold acoustic liners under the bonnet, parcel tray fabric, load floor, etc. So I've told you everything we're not. So what are we? We don't have a website. We don't have a Twitter account or whatever, Facebook. You won't find us even in the yellow pages. We try and keep a very low profile. But to tell you exactly what we do, perhaps this little movie may show you an indication. Boy, this organisation's doing well. Nathan's just gone off for a cup of coffee. So here we go. Look, let's drop it. Let's not worry about it. Let me tell you precisely what we do. We're a world expert in runny bowel movement. We specialise in urine, blood, and runny bowel movement. Why? That's a very obscure, niche little business, you may think. But it's dominated by some big players. There's probably only one person in this room who would really understand what we do, and that's Don Matthews, who used to come from SCA. Don, sorry. It's a squillion billion dollar business globally, controlled by Procter & Gamble, Kimberly-Clark, Unicham out of Japan, and SCA out of Sweden. That's it. And there's a particular problem that we cracked with newborn babies. Newborn babies don't urinate, they have runny bowel movement. And of course, that's a very sensitive time both for the baby and for the relationship with the mother. And looking after the skin is key and crucial. With help of CSIRO, and I really mean a huge amount of help from CSIRO, we've cracked this global problem, and we're now exporting those products right throughout the world. So, again, a little bit of history and why I particularly want to address those people facing the automotive closure. I bought the business in 2000 and through the Commonwealth Bank, and I'd worked for it before. It was a leverage buyout. And I bought it only on one condition. The loan conditions were this: get out of the automotive industry, get out of the clothing industry. If you're in that, no deal. So we went from a 20 million turnover business in 1999, and by 2001 we were 7.2 million, and it was pretty tough. I was forced to get out of those industries and re-establish what I was good at and move forward. So I'm going to present here, my role is to educate. I'm going to present here a series of things and guiding principles and stuff. And if I'm really honest with you, I'm looking back at history. And so there was no sort of, and I think in business, there was no sort of pre-plan, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. We basically followed the opportunities. Some could say we were really lucky. I think we've been incredibly adaptive, finding opportunities and then really going for them. So some of the stuff's going to be interesting. The video didn't work, so I'm just hoping there's a series of slides which are really very important, because I'm going to start to talk a little bit about business principles, and I want you all to be awake when I get towards the end of that, because it's key and crucial. So the dollar went to parity, and we were exporting quite a bit, and it really knocked us around. So in part of the processes of change, productivity is critically important. So the guiding principles that we now have are three. Productivity is number one. So if we've got a choice between making two products, if one we can automate and get rid of the labour cost out of it, then we'll make that product. If one thing needs a lot of conversion, a lot of labour cost, we leave it for someone else. So productivity is the key and most critical thing. The second thing is sustainability. Why? We're not tree huggers, but we're working on a thing called closed loop manufacture, which means if you've got zero waste, guess where that goes? It goes to the bottom line, And if you've got zero waste, which means you're getting more good product out the door, so it's actually another measure of productivity. And the last thing that we believe very strongly in is advanced material science. And I mentioned before about why we use fibres, because what we're doing is transferring fluids. We're moving fluids along a path, and that's why the advanced material science is key and crucial. So again, these are things in relation in history that I'm going back to. On the strategic issues that we find important, the first one is relationships. Commonwealth Government been fantastic for us. The state government, CSIRO. I'll mention our major customer, Kimberly-Clark. We have committed relationships to all those organisations. Commonwealth Bank, Siemens. We're fiercely loyal. The other question I've learned as I've travelled more and more is how relevant is the capital equipment that you've got? If you go to China nowadays, you don't see old equipment, you see modern, highly automated equipment. And one of the major problems I think in Australia is that we just don't have modern equipment. The last point is technology. And Australia has the worst ratio of collaboration between research and industry of every single country in the OECD. The worst. And what a great resource it is to help us change our businesses. So we've come out of the garment, we've come out of the automotive industry, and we've changed because of technology, just technology. CSIRO have been brilliant for us. There's an SME engagement office there. Michael Egan is here in the thing. If you need to start somewhere to change your business, start with it on CSIRO, or if you can work well with the university, someone else mentioned Swinburne, go for it. Now look, I'm going to go into now the next most, I think it's really the forgotten innovation, and that's in business models. And most of us, I hope, are sort of engineers or scientists or something, and we understand ratios. So let's see if I can get this thing to work. Here we are, let me go back a bit. DuPont in the so this is how old is this? DuPont, the chemical company in the 1920s, invented this thing called the DuPont financial model. And if you can read the words there, it works on the principles that return on investment, you can write it as words, return on assets, and I want to use the word assets. So we can express it as a ratio. By the way, I picked this, so this is not my clever thing or why I'm bringing it back, but I learned this from the venture capitalists in London when they were breaking and pillaging various different businesses that I was associated with. So another word for return is profit. So, we can all follow these very simple things, nothing revolutionary here. And we can express that again, because we're all good engineers, we all know our maths. We can express that as profit over sales multiplied by sales over assets. Now follow this along. If you haven't seen it before, it's really important. The word that Alan mentioned, he was getting a 30% return on sales, it's the second time he mentioned it. That's the margin that he's making. The other issue is the asset turn. And this is a balance sheet function. So it means if you've got $20 million of assets and you're turning those assets over once, that's an asset turn of 1. If you've got $10 million worth of assets and you're getting $20 million worth of sales, that's 2. So look at this. I wish I had done these slides. Okay, so 20% return on funds, return on assets can be achieved with a margin of 20 and an asset turn of 1. You can achieve the same goal with a margin of 10% and asset turn of 2, or you can achieve it with a margin of 5%, which is where I operate, but a asset turn of 4. Now, this is a very provocative argument, and needs a lot of thought. But if we're going to be successful in manufacture, in my opinion, we have to be global. Why have we got to be global? We need scale. Why do we need scale? Because we've got to get our asset turn up. So my company now works 362 days of the year, 24 hours a day. We've just started doing it. Why are we doing that? Because it's the only way to get our asset turn up. Why are we doing that? Because we're competing in the global markets. We're really tight on margin, but we can still make 20% return on funds employed, return on assets, by being smart in the way in which we use our balance sheet. So for those facing a really tough time going forward, there's other people who've been through it. It's not going to be easy. My advice would be get hold of the first mover advantage. In other words, don't wait until the end because it's going to be too late. Get moving quickly. Get moving on technology. Get moving on creating new relationships. Building up a business model based on a sustainable, lower margin but higher asset turn function, and I think you've got a chance of surviving. Thank you. You didn't see the ad, but you probably don't need to because you're getting close to lunchtime. Thank you.